So what are we going to talk about? And the problem is we have just 15 minutes for my presentation, and so it is far too less time to go in depth in this topic. But I try to talk a little bit about the concept of peer support and how we transformed it into a recovery college. But I will stick to the time, because otherwise the other presenters will have too little time. So, first of all, for those of you, I'm living in that tiny country, very small country, the Netherlands, and I am one of the founders of EN Recovery College, and this is not just one recovery college. Now they are not, in the region of Utrecht, in the center of Utrecht, center of the Netherlands. We have already established 6 recovery colleges, and 2 will follow in the coming years. Oh yeah, and it's good to tell you I'm no longer working there, but I'm still very closely linked to them. This is the major recovery college, EN Recovery College. Here we started. It's a place of 2,000 square meters. 2,000 square meters of a recovery college that we manage in the sense that we do everything out of a co-creation. Everything is done out of peer support. And to understand what peer support is, we have to understand that there is a fundamental change, a fundamental paradigm change that is behind this movement. And maybe this picture can show you what change it is. And to the left you see a painting about Charcot, the psychiatrist, the researcher in the late 19th century, is calling and talking to his colleagues with a woman in his arm who has suffered from hysteria. And now we understand that it is a type of trauma that can lead to freezing mode. But there we were an object of study, an object of care, and others were telling others what we had and how we should be treated. To the right, we see a person with lived experience who's going to tell about her own story and the meaning she gives to her own story. So this is a fundamental change, that we shifted from being an object of care to being persons who are giving meaning to their own recovery story. And that story is much more hopeful than we thought. But to understand what recovery is about, we should understand about disruption. How do we disrupt? What is going to happen when you suffer serious mental health issues or addiction? And it is much more layered than just suffering from a mental health issue. It is also about disrupting your sense of self. And I can tell you a little bit about that myself, that when I was getting more and more disrupted, I was studying at the university in Wageningen, and I was feeling this is becoming very, very difficult. And after a while, I went into the hospital, and from one minute to the other, I was changed from society into a parallel system, the system of mental health care. And that this did disrupt my sense of self, the sense of self that is about a feeling, an identity, an idea that you are a human being like everyone else. And I tried to adapt to the new life into the institution, and I changed from a person who was a brother, a son, an uncle, oh no, I was not an uncle then, a citizen, into a mental health patient, and particularly into a schizophrenic mental health patient. And my sense of self changed, and I had not a good confidence in myself, but it went worse and worse and worse. It changed into a person who was sad, alone, was finding himself ugly, and was very, very, very getting very disrupted. So I was getting disrupted, but my environment too. What you saw was that my environment was very, very much struggling with dealing with my suffering. And they didn't know how to relate to me in my suffering. And I didn't know how to relate to them in my suffering. And my environment is not just the nurses or the doctors, but also my family. And after years and years, I talked with my sisters, and my sister said, listen, Martijn, we were just students then. Our lives had to go on. We couldn't get stuck with you because we wanted to live. And in the end, there was only one person left who didn't disconnect, and that was my mother. And my mother and I were in a very, very lonely place then. And there was a disruption that had nothing to do with my mental illness. That had all to do with the incapability of connecting from my environment to me, but also from me to my environment. And I can explain it by this example. I had one friend from high school who didn't want to let go. And he said, okay, Martijn, listen, I want you to have you at my birthday. And I went to that birthday in Rotterdam, Jochem. And Jochem, he will be very annoyed that I call him here in a presentation, but because he is shy. But Jochem, I'm bringing you in. So Jochem invited me for his birthday in Rotterdam. And I thought, okay, I tried to find the courage to go. Okay, I went to that birthday, and I met their old schoolmates. And that whole night, we were in a room like this, and I was standing here, and they were standing there. And we didn't talk, not one word. They were afraid of me, and I was afraid of them. And even when we went out to the balcony to have a smoke, because I have used to smoke very much, we were just half a meter apart, and we didn't talk. And that was the last time for many years that I went to a birthday of people who are not people who are in users of mental health care. It was so immensely painful to be there, to feel the divide, the gap, that it was too painful to look at society. So I reverted, and my gaze went on to the parallel system, the parallel world of mental health care. So that became the system where I felt comfortable. That was the system where I felt at home. So the division is mutual. And this is where peer support can have something to add. Peer support is about creating space. Creating free space where people will be invited to reconnect with themselves. And themselves is not your mental illness, you are your sense of self. So you have to reconquer your sense of self, to restart feeling who you are, make your story, give words, because I had adopted all the words that were part of my DSM diagnosis. I had no own words left, so I had to reconnect with my past. I had to regain my own language, and I had to regain the courage to be, the courage to connect, to be a citizen. Because, of course, I walked through the streets of Utrecht. but I didn't feel like being a citizen. I felt like being an alien from Mars. So I had to find the courage to reconnect with others. And others who had no lived experience couldn't convince me that it was safe enough to reconnect. Because when you reconnect, it can be the last time that you can fail or lose. So there's a lot at stake when you try to reconnect. Because it can be the last time that you can bear the loss. It can be the last time that you can find the courage to reconnect. So you need others who were there before and who made the journey and did find the way in reconnecting. So a space, a free space where people can give their own language, their own meaning to their story, and an environment where there are reciprocal relationships. And that's very important, because I don't think that people recover by receiving care. Of course, care is sometimes very good, but we grow by having something to add. We grow by having meaningful relationships. We grow by being necessary to be present the next day, because the recovery college can't be run without you. Then you grow. So this is the concept behind this recovery college, where we have established a program that is constantly evolving by members themselves in co-creations with other peers and people with lived experience. And everything that is done there is done out of the values of recognition, reciprocity, inspiration, hope, and a perspective for the future. So it is a positive learning environment where we together are creating and shaping everything that is done in the Recovery College. So, in summary, it is a learning environment where you yourself are master, owner of what you want to learn and how you want to learn. So, we are not telling each other how to live, we share how we try to live. And maybe the most important thing is that we are not focusing on where we want to go, but firstly, we may be. And that is the most important part that we have lost, that we can't be. We can't be as a person, because all people want us to change. But it is important that we can get back to our own sense of self, and that we may feel that it is that what we experience is recognized, is shared, instead of that you are a lesser person who has to be changed. So our college is a place where people may be and relate to each other without an underlying goal of having to change. So, everyone is welcome. So, when you want to come, you're very welcome. There's no threshold. It is a normalizing environment where mental health issues are part of human life. I don't believe that there is a part of society who is prone to mental health issues, and time is up, I see it, and a part of society who isn't. So we deconstruct, and we also deconstruct our own stigmas, and in the end, and maybe this is the most important picture of the whole presentation, the question is, are you the driver or the passenger in your life? I think I've locked myself in the boot. Are you the driver or the passenger in your life? I think I've locked myself in the boot. Many of us have locked ourselves in the boot. And it is the art to invite people to get behind the wheel, steering wheel of their own car. Learning to drive, learning how to set your directions, and learning to have the confidence that you are part of society. Period. Thank you.